Welcome to ASMR Stream. This is The Gateless Gate, translated by Eiichi Shimomisei, 1998. Preface by Moomin. Our teaching makes our mind the principle, and the gateless gate its very gate. Since it is the gateless gate, how can one pass through it? Are you not aware of the insight that purports those who have entered the gate are no family treasures? What is gained as a result of cause and effect is a beginning and end, and thus will become nothing. Such remarks are like rising up waves in the wingless ocean, or gouging a wound into healthy skin. Those who cling onto words are fools who believe that they can catch the moon with a stick, or can scratch their itchy foot through a leather shoe. How can they see reality as it actually is? In the summer of the first year of Stein 1228, Ekai Moomin was lecturing on Koan of the ancient masters to the monks of the monastery of the Luixiang Temple of East China. He intended to use the koan as bricks for battering the gate in order to inspire the pursuer of Zen according to his ability. His notes were unwittingly collected. There is no order as to the beginning or the end. In total, there are 48 cases, now called the Gateless Gate. If anyone, like the 8-armed Nata who bravely goes straight forward, ventures into Zen practice, no delusion will disturb him. The Indian and Chinese patriarchs will beg for their lives in his commanding presence. If, however, he hesitates even a moment, he is just a person that watches from a narrow window, for a speedy horseman to pass by and misses everything in a wink. The Great Way has no gate. 1,000 roads enter it. When one passes through the gateless gate, he freely walks between heaven and earth. It's good to see you, Ark, and thank you for the subscription, Kuro. I hope you enjoy. Case 1. Joshu's dog. A monk asked Joshu, "Has the dog the Buddha's nature?" Josh replied, "Moo, nothing." Moomin's comment. For the pursuit of Zen, you must pass through the barriers, gates, set up by the Zen masters. To attain his mysterious awareness, one must completely uproot all the normal workings of one's mind. If you do not pass through the barriers, nor uproot the normal workings of your mind, whatever you do, and whatever you think, is a tangle of ghost. Now what are the barriers? This one word, Mu, is the sole barrier. That is why it is called the Gateless Gate of Zen. The one who passes through this barrier shall meet with Joshu face to face, and also see with the same eyes, hear with the same ears, and walk together in the long train of the patriarchs. Wouldn't that be pleasant? Would you like to pass through the barrier? Then concentrate your whole body, with its 360 bones and joints, and 840,000 hair follicles, into the question of what Mu is. Day and night, without ceasing, hold it before you. It is neither nothingness, nor its relative of not, of is, and is not. It must be like gulping a hot iron ball that you can neither swallow, nor spit out. Then all the useless knowledge you have diligently learned till now is thrown away. As a fruit ripening in season, your internality and externality spontaneously become one. And with a mute man who had had a dream, you know it for sure, and yet cannot say it. Indeed, your ego shell suddenly is crushed. You can shake heaven and earth, just as with getting a hold of a great sword of a general. When you meet the Buddha, you will kill Buddha. A master of Zen, you will kill him too. As you stand on the brink of life and death, you are absolutely free. You can enter any world as if it were your own playground. How do you concentrate on this Mu? Pour every ounce of your entire energy into it and do not give it up. Then a torch of truth will illuminate the entire universe. As a dog, the Buddha nature, this is a matter of life and death. If you wonder whether a dog has it or not, you will certainly lose your body and life. Case 2. Hakujo's Fox. Whenever Hakujo delivered a Zen lecture, an old man was always there, with the monks and listening to it. And when they left the hall, so did he. One day, however, he remained behind, and Hyakujo asked, "Who are you?" The old man replied, "Yes, I am not a human being, but in the far distant past, when the Kashapa Buddha, the sixth Buddha of the seven ancient Buddhas, preached in this world. I was the head monk in the mountain area. On one occasion, a monk asked me whether an enlightened man could fall again under the law of karma, cause and effect, and I answered that he could not. Thus I became a fox for 500 rebirths, and I am still a fox. I beg you to release me from this condition through your Zen words." Then he asked Hyakujo, "Is an enlightened man subject to the law of karma?" Hyakujo answered, "No one is free from the law of karma." At the words of Hyakujo, the old man was enlightened and said with a bow, "I am now released from rebirth as a fox, and my body will be found on the other side of the mountain. May I request that you bury me as a dead monk?" The next day, Hyakujo and the Karmadana, or deacon, beat the clapper, and he informed the monks that after the midday meal, there would be a funeral service for a dead monk. No one were sick or died, wonder the monks. What does our Roshi mean? After they had eaten, Hyakujo led them to the foot of a rock on the furthest side of the mountain, and with his staff poked the dead body of a fox it had ritually cremated. In the evening, Hyakujo gave a talk to the monks and told them the story of the law of karma. Upon hearing the story, Obaku asked Hyakujo, "You said because a long time ago, an old Zen master gave me a wrong answer and became a fox for 500 rebirths. But suppose every time he answered that he had not made a mistake, what would have happened then?" Hyakujo replied, "Just come here to me, and I will tell you the answer." Obaku then went up to Hyakujo and slapped the teacher's face. Hyakujo, clapping his hands and laughing, exclaimed, "I thought the Persian had a red beard, but here's another one with a red beard." Moment's comment. The enlightened man is not the subject to karma. How can this answer make the monk a fox? The enlightened man is not free from the law of karma. How can this answer release him from the fox's life? If you have one eye in regard to this, then you understand Hyakujo, the old man's dramatic 500 rebirths. Free from karma or subject to it. There are two sides of the same die. Subject to karma or free from it. Both are irredeemable errors. Now, if you'll indulge me a second, I need to hydrate a little bit. Case 3. Gutei's finger. Gutei raised his finger whenever he was asked a question about Zen. A boy attendant began to imitate him in this way. When a visitor asked the boy what his master had preached about, the boy raised his finger. Gutei had heard about the boy's mischief, seized him, and cut off his finger with a knife. As the boy screamed and ran out of the room, Gutei called to him. When the boy turned his head to Gutei raised up his own finger. In an instant, the boy was enlightened. When Gutei was about to die, he said to the assembled monks, "I received this one finger Zen from Tenryu. I used it all my life, and yet could not exhaust it." And then he passed away. Moomin's comment. Where Gutei and the boy attained enlightenment is not the tip of the finger itself. If this simple truth is not comprehended, Tenryu, Gutei, the boy, and you will also be bound together once and for all. Gutei made a fool of old Tenryu. With a sharp blade, he did simply harm the boy. That is nothing compared to the mountain spirit when he raised his hand and split Kasan, the great mountain, in two. Case 4. Wakuan's Why No Beard? Wakuan, looking at the Bodhidharma's picture, complained, "Why has the barbarian no beard?" Moomin's comment. If you study Zen, you must study it with all your heart. When you attain enlightenment, it must be true enlightenment. When you really meet Bodhidharma face to face, you will finally have gotten it right. However, when you start explaining it with words, you have fallen into duality. Do not explain your dream before a fool. The barbarian has no beard. How can you add obscurity to clarity? Case 5. Kyogen's man hanging in the tree. Kyogen said, "It, Zen, is like a man, monk, hanging by his teeth in a tree over a precipice. His hands grasp no branch, his feet rest on no limb, and under the tree another man asks him, why did the Bodhidharma come to China from the West, India? If the man in the tree does not answer, he misses the question. And if he answers, he falls and loses his life. Now what shall he do?" Moomin's comment, "In such a predicament, through your eloquence flows like a river. It is all to no avail, even if you can complain all of the Buddha's sutras. That is also useless. If you can rightly answer the question, you walk the road of killing the living and reviving the dead. But if you cannot answer, you should wait for ages and ask Maitreya, the future Buddha." Kyogen had really bad taste and spreads the poison everywhere. He stuffs with it the monks' mouths and lets their tears stream from their dead eyes. Case 6. The Buddha's Flower. Once upon a time, when Buddha was in a dark Taz mountain. He twirled the finger in his flower and held it before his congregation. Everyone was silent. Only Mahakashpa wholeheartedly smiled. Buddha said, "I have the eye of the true teaching, the heart of nirvana, the formless form, the mysterious gate of Dharma. Beyond the words and beyond all the teachings to be transmitted, I now pass this on to Mahakashpa." Moomin's comment, "Golden-faced Gautama impudently forced the good people into depravity." Gautama, "He sold dog meat under the name of mutton, and he thought he made it." What if all the audience had laughed together? How could he have handled the eye of the true teaching, or if Kashyapa had not smiled? How could he have transmitted this teaching? If you say it could be transmitted, he is like a golden-faced old huckster swindling at the city gate. And if you say it cannot be transmitted, how does he hand it on to the Mahakashpa? At the turning of a flower, the snake, in his disguise, shows his tail. Mahakashpa smiles. Every monk does not know what to do. Case 7. Joshu's washing the bowl. A monk told Joshu, "I have just entered this monastery. I beg you to teach me." Joshu asked, "Have you eaten your rice porridge?" The monk replied, "I have." "Then," said Joshu, "go and wash your bowl." At that moment, the monk was enlightened. Moomin's comment, Joshu opened his mouth, showed his gallbladder, the true mind, and the depth of his heart. If the monk did not really listen to and gasp with truth, he indeed mistook the bell for a pitcher. He made it so simple and clear. It might take a long time to catch this point. If one realizes that it's stupid to search for fire with a lantern light, the rice would not take so long to be done. Case 8. Keichu's Wheel. Gitan asked a monk if Keichu, the ancient mythological wheelmaker, made 100 carts, and if we took off the wheels and removed the hub united the spokes, what would then become apparent? Moomin's comment, if anyone can answer this question instantly, his eyes will be like a meteor, and his mind like a flash of lightning. When the hubless wheel turns, even the master would be at a loss of what to do. It turns above heaven and beneath earth, south, north, east, and west. Case 9. Daitsu Chisho Buddha. A monk asked Seijo, Daitsu Chisho Buddha, did Zazen meditated for 10 kalpas in a meditation hall. He could not realize the highest truth, and so could not fully so could and so could not become fully emancipated. Why was this? Seijo said. Your question is a very appropriate one. The monk again asked, why did he not attain Buddhahood by doing zazen in the meditation hall? Seijo replied, because he did not. Woman's comment, you may know the old Indian, but you are not allowed to have an understanding of him. If an ordinary man attains enlightenment, he is a sage. When the sage is concerned about an understanding, he is only an ordinary man. Rather than putting the body to rest, let the heart rest. Then the mind is realized, and one does not worry about the body. If the mind and body have completely become one, this is the perfect life of sage, and praise is utterly meaningless. I thought I would have ASMR for all the senses, your ears and your eyes. Those are all your senses. I'm calling this ADHD, or ASMR for the ADHD person. Do let me know how you enjoy it. Case 10. Sozan and poor Seizai. A monk named Seizai said to Sozan, I am alone and poor. I beg my teacher to bestow upon me the alms of salvation. Sozan said, Karya, Seizai. Yes, sir? Replied Seizai. Sozan said, someone has drunk 3 bowls of wine from the haku of Seigen, but says that he has not even moistened his lips. Woman's comment, Seizai overplayed his hand. Then what is his real state of mind? Sozan, with his one eye, sees through the recesses of his mind and comprehends what he really meant. However, this may be so. Where did the Akarya Seizai drink the wine? The poorest, like Hanzen, his spirit like that of Ko. He could barely make his living, and yet wishes to rival the wealthiest. Case 11. Joshu's Hermit. Joshu went to the hermits and asked, What's up? What's up? Have you had any zen? Have you any zen? The hermit lifted up his fist. Joshu said, The water is too shallow to anchor here, and went away. Joshu visited the hermit once again a few days later and said, What's up? What's up? The hermit raised his fist again, and Joshu said, Well given, well taken, well killed, well saved. And he bowed to the hermit. Boomin's comment. The raised fist was the same both times. Why was one accepted, the other rejected? Just say, where's the confusion between the two? If you can answer this by a word of true comprehension, then you realize that Joshu's tongue has no bone, and that he cannot absolutely freely use it. Even though this is so, the hermit might have seen through Joshu both times. If you wonder whether the first hermit be superior or inferior to the second, then you have no one eye. His eye is a meteor. Zen's movement is like lightning. The sword that kills the man is the sword that saves the man. Case 12. Zuigan calls himself master. Every day Zuigan used to call out to himself, Master, and then he answered himself, Yes, sir. And he added, Awake, awake. And then he answered, Yes, sir, yes, sir. From now onwards, do not be deceived by others. No, sir, I will not, sir. Woman's comment. The master, Zuigan, sells out and buys himself. He has a lot of puppets of gods and devils that he plays with. Why is this so? With one mask, he asked, and with another he answered. With another mask, he said, Awake, and another, Don't be cheated by others. If you adhere to any one of these, you are totally mistaken. If, however, you imitate Zuigan, then all these others are no other than the fox disguises. Some who search the way of Zen do not realize true self, for they recognize only the ego soul. This ego soul is the seed of birth and death. Foolish people take it for the true original self. Excuse me. Hmm. Case 13. Tokusan's Bowl. One day, Tokusan came to the dining room from the meditation hall, holding his bowl. Seppo saw him coming and asked, "The dinner drum is not yet beaten. Where are you going with your bowl?" Tokusan went back at once to his room. Seppo told about this incident to Ganto, who said, "Tokusan, as he is, has not penetrated into the ultimate truth of Zen." Tokusan heard of this and sent an acolyte to ask Ganto to come to him. "I have heard," said Tokusan, "you are not approving my Zen." Ganto whispered to Tokusan what he meant. Tokusan said nothing, leaving Ganto there. The next day, ascending to the rostrum, Tokusan delivered an entirely different sermon to the monks. Ganto went forward in the hall, clapped his hands, laughed, and said, "What a happy thing! The old man has got hold of the ultimate truth of Zen. From now on, no one in heaven and on earth can surpass him." Woman's comment. As for the ultimate truth of Zen, neither Tokusan nor Ganto even dreamt of such a thing. When you look into the matter, they are only a set of dummies. How about puppets? Dummies sounds like stupid. Whoever understands this first truth understands the ultimate truth, the last and the first. Are they not one and the same? Case 14. Nansen cuts the cat in two. Nansen saw the monks of the eastern and western halls fighting over a baby cat. He seized the cat and said, "If any of you say a word of Zen, you can spare the cat. Otherwise I will kill it." No one could answer, so Nansen cut the cat in two. That evening, Joshu returned, and Nansen told him what had happened. Joshu thereupon took off his sandals, and placing them on his head, walked away. Nansen said, "If only you had been there, you could have saved the cat." Moen's comment, "Why did Joshu put his sandals on his head? If you can answer this question with one word, you understand Nansen's efforts. If not, you are utterly in danger." Had Joshu been there, the opposite would have been done. Joshu would have snatched the knife, and Nansen would have begged for his life. Case 15. Tozan's 60 Blows. Tozan went to Unmon, and Unmon. Tozan went to Unmon, and Unmon asked him where he had come from. Tozan asked, "From Sato." Then Unmon asked, "Where were you then during the summer?" Tozan answered, "At Hoji Temple in the Konan province." Unmon further asked Tozan, "When did you leave there?" Tozan replied, "I left on August 25th. Unmon told Tozan, "You deserve 60 blows, but I will forgive you for today." The next day, Tozan knelt and deeply bowed to Unmon and said, "Yesterday, you forgave me the 60 blows, but I still do not understand in what respect I was wrong." Then Unmon told Tozan, "You are really a good-for-nothing rice seeker. No wonder you wandered around Konan and Kosai for nothing." At this moment, Tozan was awakened. Moment's comment. Unmon had Tozan feed on the genuine fodder of Zen, showed him the one way of living activity, and had helped him from becoming extinct. All night long, Tozan swam in the waves of yes and no until he got nowhere. When the dawn broke again, Tozan went to Unmon to be awakened. After all, Tozan was not so seasoned. Now I ask you, did Tozan deserve 60 blows? If you say yes, then not only Tozan, but everyone also deserves 60 blows. If you say no, Unmon is a swindler, and therefore you understand this clearly. Tozan and you breathe the same air. The lion roughly teaches her cubs. She kicks them away, and the cubs jump. Unmon's thrown words hit right on Tozan's heart, while Unmon's first arrow is light, The second arrow hits deep. Oh, we got Unman returning. Need more water for this. Case 16. Unman's Sevenfold Robe. Unman said, "The world is vast and wide. For what is it you put on your 7-piece robe at the sound of the bell?" Woman's comment, "When one meditates and studies Zen, one distinguishes the attachment to sound and color. Even though some have attained enlightenment by hearing a sound, or an awakening by seeing a color, these are ordinary matters. Those who intend to master Zen freely master sounds or colors, see clearly the nature of things and every activity of mind. Even though this is so, now tell me, does the sound come to the ear, or does the ear go to the sound? But when both sound and silence are forgotten, what will you call this state? If you listen with your ear, it is hard to hear truly, but if you listen with your eye, then you begin to hear properly. If you are awakened, all things are one and the same. If you are not awakened, all things are varied and distinguished. If you are not awakened, all things are one and the same. If you are awakened, all things are varied and distinguished." Case 17. Eichu's 3 calls. Eichu called Kokushi, the teacher of the emperor, called his attendant, Oshin, 3 times, and 3 times Oshin answered, "Yes." Kokushi said, "I thought I have offended you, but in reality you offended me." Moment's comment. Kokushi called Oshin 3 times. His tongue fell to the ground from talking too much. Oshin answered 3 times and revealed his harmony with Tao. Eichu, getting old and lonely, attempted even to hold the cow's head down to feed on the grass. Oshin did not trouble to show his Zen, for his satisfied stomach had no desire to eat. When the nation is prosperous, everyone is too proud to eat plain food. Now just say who has offended which one. When prison kanga is iron and has no hole, Eichu's followers have neither peace nor rest. When you intend to uphold the teaching of Zen, you must climb a mountain of swords with bare feet. Case 18. Tozan's 3 pound of flax. A monk asked Tozan, "What is the Buddha?" Tozan answered, 3 pounds of flax. Woman's comment. Tozan's Zen is like a clam. When the 2 halves of the shell open, you can see the whole inside. However, now tell me, what is Tozan's real insides? Just 3 pounds of flax pops up. His words are close, and yet his heart is closer. Anyone who explains this or that, yes and no, is himself the man of yes and no. Case 19. Nansen's ordinary mind. Joshua asked Nansen, "What is the way?" Nansen answered, "Your ordinary mind. That is the way." Joshua said, "Can it be grasped for study?" Nansen replied, "The more you pursue, the more does it slip away." Joshua asked once more, "How can you know it is the way?" Nansen responded, "The way does not belong to the knowledge, nor does it belong to non-knowledge. Knowledge is illusion. Non-knowledge is beyond discrimination. When you get to this way, without doubt, you are free like the vastness of space, an unfathomable void. So how can you explain it by yes or no?" Upon hearing this, Joshua was awakened. Woman's comment. The question Joshua asked Nansen was dissolved by a stroke. After being enlightened, Joshua must further pursue 30 more years to exhaust this meaning. 100 flowers in spring, the moon in autumn, the cool wind in summer, and winter's snow. If your mind is not clouded with things, you are happy at any time. Case 20. Shogun's Strongman. Shogun asked, "Why is it that a man of strength cannot lift up his own legs and stand up for Zen? And again, it is not with our own tongue that we speak." Woman's comments. Shogun said it by turning his heart inside out, and no one was there to receive it. If anyone should comprehend Shogun, then come to me and receive my blows. To know the genuine gold, you must see it through fire. Raising my foot, I turn upside down the scented ocean. Bowing my head, I look down on the four Dhyana heavens. Such a body of full strength is no place to rest. Please finish this verse yourself. Case 21. Unmon's dried dung. A monk asked Unmon, "What is Buddha?" Unmon answered, dried dung. Buman's comments. We must say that being so poor, Unmon cannot appreciate plain food. Or he is so busy that he cannot even scribble properly. He is disposed to support his school with dry dung. Look how devastated the Buddha's teachings has been. Lightning flashes, sparks of striking flint. In the blink of your eyes, you have passed by and missed it. Case 22. Kashapa's Flagpole. Ananda asked Mahakashapa, "Buddha gave you the golden woven robe of successorship. What else did he give you?" Kashyapa asked Ananda. "Yes," answered Ananda. "Knock down the flagpole at the gate," said Kashyapa. Woman's comments. If you can give a turning word, a momentous word for awakening, you will see the meeting, at Mount Budrahuta, still in succession. If not, no matter how much you make struggles to study from the ancient of Vipassin, you cannot attain enlightenment. How is Anada's question compared to Kashyapa's answer of heart? How many people have since then opened their eyes? Elder brother calls, and younger brother answers. The family disgrace. This spring does not belong to yin and yang. Case 23. Eno's Good and Evil. Eno, the Sith patriarch, was pursued by the monk Emyo up to the Dairyu. The patriarch, seeing Emyo's coming, laid the robe and the bowl on a rock and said to him, "This robe represents the faith. It is to be fought for by force. You may take them now." Emyo went to move the bowl and the robe, and yet they were as heavy as mountains. He could not move them. Hesitating and trembling, Hesitating and trembling, Emyo asked the patriarch, "I've come for the teaching, not for the robe. Please enlighten me." The patriarch said, "What is primordially Emyo? Your true self. If you do not think this is good, nor do you think this is evil." At the moment, Emyo was greatly awakened. His whole body was covered with sweat. Emyo cried, bowed, and said, "Is there or is there not any other deep significance in Zen than your secret words and have teachings a minute ago?" The patriarch answered, "What I have told you is no secret at all. Once you have realized your own true self, The depth in Zen rather belongs to you. Emio said, when I was at Obai with the other monks, I have never realized what my true self was. Now you have dispersed the clouds of my ignorance to realize it, just like a man capable of discerning warm and cold by tasting water. From now on, you are my teacher. The patriarch said, we both have Obai for our teacher. Guard your own self. Moomin's comments. We should say that the sixth patriarch was in an emergency. This revelation of his, however, resembles the deed of an overly protective grandmother who peeled a fresh lychee as a desert fruit, removed its stone, and put it to her grandchild's mouth ready for him to swallow. You describe it in vain, yet you picture it to no avail. Praising it is useless. Cease to worry about it at all. It is your true self. It has nowhere to hide. Even if the universe is annihilated, it is not destroyed. All right, case 24. We are halfway done. Case 24. Fuketsu's silence and words. A monk asked Fuketsu, without words or without silence transgressing, how can one be unmistakably one with the universe? Fuketsu said, I often think of March in Konan, southern China. The birds sing among hundreds of flagrant flowers. Flagrant flowers, huh? Woman's comments. Fuketsu's mind was as quick as lightning, snatching the road and walking on it. Regrettably, Fuketsu was not able to sit on the words of the ancestors. If anyone should penetrate into this, he would be absolutely free, without words, without phrases. Now say what Zen is. Fuketsu did not say of such a fine phrase. Without uttering words, he already let it be known. If Fuketsu had become talkative, you do not know what to do. Yeah, these videos really like pressing your fingers into goo. Because that's oddly satisfying to some people. Case 25. Kyozan's sermon from the third seat. In a dream, Kyozan went to the Maitreya's Pure Land and sat in the third seat. A monk there beat the gavel and said, Today, the one in the third seat will give a sermon. Kyozan arose, hit the gavel, and said, The truth of the Mahayana is beyond any verbal expression. Listen, listen. Bowman's comments. You tell me, did Kyozan's preach, or did he not? If he opens his mouth, he is lost. If he seals his mouth, he is lost too. Whether he opens or seals his mouth, Kyozan is 108,000 miles away from truth. In the bright daylight, and yet in a dream, he talks a dream. Indeed, a possessed word, a possessed word. He is deceiving the entire crowd. Case 26. Two monks roll up the blinds. Hogen of Seirio came to the hall to speak to the monks before midday meal. He pointed with his finger to the bamboo blinds. At this moment, two monks rose and rolled the blinds up. Hogan observed, one has it, the other hasn't it. Woman's comments. Now tell me, which one has it and which one has not? If any one of you has one eye, you will see through the failure on Hogan of Seirio. However, never be concerned about the gain or the loss. When the blinds are rolled up, the great sky is bright and clear. The great sky is not yet in accord with Zen. It is better to throw everything away from the sky, and make sure to have not even a draft blow through. Case 27. Nonsense, no mind, no Buddha. A monk asked Nansen, is there any teaching no master has ever preached before? Nansen replied, yes, there is. What is it? Asked the monk. Nansen answered, It is not mind. It is not Buddha. It is not things. Moomin's comments. Being asked a question, Nansen gave away his entire treasure, words, and suffered a run of bad luck. Nansen was too kind and lost his treasure. Verily, words have no power. Even if a mountain may become a blue ocean, Nansen will never make it comprehensible to you. Case 28. Ryutan's Castle. Candle. One night, Tokusan went to the Ryutan to ask for his teaching. After Tokusan's many questions, Ryutan said to Tokusan at last, "Is it late? Why don't you retire?" So Tokusan bowed, lifted the screen, and was ready to go out, observing, "It is very dark outside." Ryutan lit a candle and offered it to Tokusan. Just as Tokusan received it, Ryutan blew it out. At that moment, the mind of Tokusan was opened. "What have you realized?" asked Ryutan to Tokusan, who replied, "From now on, I will not doubt what you have said." The next day, Ryutan ascended from the rostrum and declared to the monks, "Among you, there is one monk whose teeth are like the sword tree. His mouth is like the blood bowl. Strike him with a stick, and he won't turn his head to look at you. Someday he will climb the highest peaks and carry out my teaching there." On that day, in front of the lecture hall, Tokusan burned to ashes his commentaries on the sutras and declared, Tokusan burned to ashes his commentaries on the sutras and declared, "In comparison to this awareness, all the most profound teachings are like a single hair in the past space. However, deep in the complicated knowledge of this world, I lost my place. Compared to this enlightenment, it is like one drop of water in the ocean." Then he left the monastery. Moomin's comments. Well, you had a lot to say about this one, Moomin. Before Tokusan passed through the barrier, his mind was eager. His mouth was anxious. With a purpose in his mind, he went south to refute the doctrine of dispensal transmission outside the sutras. When he got on to the road of Reishu, near Ryotan's monastery, he asked an old woman to let him have something to point to his mind. Literally, a snack, then something to put the mind at ease at the same time. Oh man, Fushigi. I haven't seen Fushigi in so long. Also, welcome here, Private Astro. The old woman asked Tokusan, "What is all that writing you are carrying?" Tokusan replied, "That is the manuscript of my notes and commentary on the Diamond Sutra." Then the old woman said, "That Trutzer says, the past mind cannot be held, the present mind cannot be held, the future mind cannot be held. All of them are but unreal and illusory. You wish to have some refreshments. Well then, with which of your minds do you want to have the refreshments?" Tokusan felt himself quite dumb. Finally he asked the woman, "Do you know of any Zen master around here? About 5 leagues away lives Ryutan," said she. Tokusan arrived at Ryutan's monastery with all humility, quite different from when he had started his journey. Ryutan in turn was so kind he forgot his own dignity. It was like pouring muddy water over a drunken man to sober him. After all, it was an unnecessary comedy. Rather than hearing the name, seeing the face is better. Rather than seeing the face, hearing the name is better. But how much you help the nostrils! Look what you have done to the eyes. Case 29. Aino's Flag. The wind was flapping a temple flag, and 2 monks were arguing about the flag. One said, "The flag is moving." The other said, "The wind is moving." They could not agree, no matter how hard they debated. The 6th patriarch, Eno, happened to come by and said, "Not the wind, not the flag, it is the mind that is moving." The two monks were struck with awe. Just casually roll up and say, "No, it's your mind." Woman's comments. It is not the wind that moves. It is not the flag that moves. It is not the mind that moves. How shall we understand the sixth patriarch? If you gain an intimate grasp of his meaning, you will see how the two monks, intending to buy iron, got gold. The patriarch cannot express his compassion for the two monks, so we have this disgraceful scene. Wind, flag, and mind moves, all confirmed as guilty of error. Only we know our mouths is open. We do not know our speech when wrong. Case 30. Bazo's very mind. Aibai asked Bazo, "What is the Buddha?" Bazo answered, "The mind is the Buddha." Woman's comments. If you fully understand Bazo's meaning, you are wearing Buddha's clothes, eating Buddha's food, speaking Buddha's words, doing Buddha's deeds, and that is to say, you are Buddha himself. But Bazo misled not a few people into erring the principles of Zen. He does not realize that if we explain the word Buddha, we must rinse our mouths for 3 days afterwards. If he is a man of understanding, he would cover his ears and run away hearing Bazo say, "The mind is the Buddha." Moomin's got some opinions about what the mind is. Under blue sky, in bright sunlight, one need not search around. Asking around what Buddha is liking the stolen goods in one's pocket and declaring oneself innocent. Case 31. Joshua investigates an old woman. The traveling monk asked a woman the way to the Taizan. The old woman said, "Go straight ahead." When the monk proceeded a few steps, she said to herself, "The monk with such spirit goes off like that." Afterwards, another monk told Joshua about this, and Joshua said, "Wait until I go investigate the old woman." The next day off, Joshua went and asked the same question, and the old woman gave the same answer. Upon his return, Joshua told the congregation of monks, "I investigated the old woman of Taizan." Woman's comments. The old woman sat in the tent and planned the campaign, but she did not know that there was a famous bandit who knew how to take the enemy commander prisoner. Old Joshua sneaked into her tent and menaced her fortress. But he wasn't a real general. Indeed, both had their faults. Now I would like to ask you, what was the point of Joshua's investigating the old woman? The question was the same. The answer was the same. Sand in the rice, thorns in the mud. Case 32. A pagan asked Buddha. A pagan asked Buddha, "With words, with silence, will you tell me the way?" Buddha silently kept meditating. The pagan bowed and thanked the Buddha, saying, "With the compassion you have cleared away the clouds of my mind and have made me enter into the awakening." After he left, Ananda asked the Buddha what he had attained. The Buddha said, "A good horse runs even a shadow of the whip." Woman's comments. Ananda was Buddha's disciple, but his understanding was not like the pagan. Now tell me, how far are the disciple and the non-disciple? Treading on the sharp edge of a sword, running over jagged ice, not climbing on the ladder, letting your hands off the cliff. I'm sorry about that. I seem to have gotten the hiccups mid-sentence. Case 33. Neither mind nor Buddha. A monk asked Bazo, "What is the Buddha?" Bazo replied, "Not mind, not Buddha." Mumen's comments. If anyone understands what Bazo has said, he has mastered Zen. If you meet a sword master on the road, give him the sword. Unless you meet a poet on the road, do not offer a poem. If you meet a man, tell him through 3/4 of the way, and never tell him the rest. Never tell him the rest. Case 34. Nonsense, no way. Nonsense said, mind is not the Buddha. Knowledge is not the way. Moment's comments. Growing old, Nansen forgot to be ashamed. With his stinking mouth opened, he spread the scandal of his own house, such as knowledge is not the way, to others. However, few appreciate their indebtedness to him. When the sky is clear, the sun appears. When rain falls, the earth becomes moistened. How wholeheartedly he explains. How few have faith in him and his words. Case 35. Two Souls. Goso asked a monk, say, the Chinese girl, who was separated from her soul, which was the real say. Moment's comments. If you obtain genuine awareness of reality, you will know that the soul passes from one husk to another as travelers lodged in an inn. But if you had not obtained the awareness, you should not run around in confusion when the four elements are suddenly ready to become separated, i.e., to die. Like a crab with his 7 arms and 8 legs thrown into boiling water. Never say that I did not warn you. I feel like they're repeating the kinetic sand one. I feel like we've seen that kinetic sand video. The moon and the clouds is one and the same. Valleys and mountains are various. Fortunes upon fortunes. Is it one or is it two? Hey Monty, glad to see you here. Just kick back and relax. Just let the Zen take you. Case 36. Goso's no words, no silence. Goso said, when you meet a man of the way on the road, greet him not with words, nor with silence. Tell me, how would you greet him? Moment's comments. If you can answer Goso exactly, it will be extremely heartening. If you cannot answer properly yet, then you must do your best to watch out everything. Meeting the man of the way on the road. Greeting him not with words, nor with silence. Give him an uppercut, then he will understand you at once. Case 37. Joshu's oak tree in the garden. A monk asked Joshu, with what intention did the Bodhidharma come to China? Joshu answered, the oak tree in the front garden. Moment's comments. If you grasp Joshu's answer precisely, there is no Shakyamuni Buddha before you, and there is no Maitreya Buddha after you. Words do not express fact. Phrases do not reveal the delicate motion of mind. He who accepts words is lost. He who adheres to phrases is deluded. Case 38. Goso's buffalo. Goso asked, a water buffalo goes out of his enclosure. The head, the horns, and the 4 legs go through. But why doesn't the tail, too? Moment's comments. If you can open your one eye to the question and say an awakening word, you will be able to repay the 4 obligations and help the 3 bhava being saved. If you still have not gotten it, take a close look on the tail and awake yourself. If the buffalo goes through, he will fall into the abyss. If he retreats into the enclosure, he will be butchered. This little bit of a tail, that is a strange thing indeed. We have 10 more cases left to go. We are on the last final stretch. Case 39. Unmam and trap into words. As soon as a monk stated Unman, the radiance of the Buddha quietly and restlessly illuminates the whole universe. Unman asked him, Are these you are reciting not the words of Shosetsu Shusai? The monk replied, yes they are. Unman said, you are trapped in words. Afterwards, Shishin brought up the matter once more and said, "Tell me, how was the monk trapped in words?" Lumen's comments. If you are able to grasp Unman's unapproachable accomplishments and follow through the monk's corruption of being trapped into words, you will be the leader of humans and devas. If not, you cannot even save yourself. A fish meets the fish hook in a rapid stream. Being too greedy for bait, the fish wants to bite. Once his mouth widely opens, his life is already lost. Case 40. Kicking the drinking water jar. During his stay under Master Hyakujo, Isan was a cooking monk. As Master Hyakujo wished to send a monk to found the new monastery called the Great Mount I, Master Hyakujo told the chief monk and all other monks that he would choose the one who would demonstrate himself the best among them. Then Master Hyakujo brought out a drinking water jar, put it down, and said, "You cannot call it a water jar. Then what will you call it?" The chief monk said, "One cannot call it a wooden stick." Then, when Master Hyakujo turned to Isan kicked the jar and walked away. Master Hyakujo laughed and said, the chief monk lost it to Isan. He made Isan the founder of the Great Isan Monastery. Mumen's comments. Master Isan had a rare courage, but he could not jump out of Master Hyakujo's trap. After examination of the outcome, Isan took over the heavier burden for the easier job. Why? Look, Isan took off the cook's headband and put himself in seal cuffs of the founder of the monastery. Throwing away strainers and cooking spoon, Isan kicks the jar and settles the disputes. Unhindered by the multiple hurdles, he gives a kick on the toe. Even Buddha becomes pieces. Case 41. Bodhidharma's peace of mind. Bodhidharma sit facing the stone wall. The second patriarch, Suika, stood long in the thick snow. Finally, he severed his own arm and presented it to the Bodhidharma. He said, "Your student cannot pacify his mind. You, the first patriarch, please give me peace of mind." The first patriarch replied, "Bring that mind, I will calm it down." The second patriarch said, "I will search for it everywhere, but I cannot find it." Bodhidharma replied, "I have already pacified it for you." Mumen's comments. That toothless old chap from India proudly traveled 10,000 li over the ocean to China. This was indeed as if he deliberately raised waves where there was no wave. At last, he got only one disciple, who was maimed by cutting off his own arm. Alas, he was a fool indeed. The first patriarch from India taught straightforward. A series of all the troubles has initiated from him. The one who disturbed the calm world is Bodhidharma, you indeed. Case 42. A woman comes out of meditation. When the wisest bodhisattva, Manjutsuri, who is supposed to be next in order to the Shakyamuni Buddha, found that the Buddha gathering was adjourned and each was going back to her land. Observing one woman still deep in meditation near Shakyamuni, Manjutsuri properly bowed and asked Shakyamuni Buddha, "That woman has been able to reach that state of enlightenment, and why have I not?" And Shakyamuni replied, "Bring her from the Samadhi and ask her yourself." Manjutsuri went round the woman 3 times and snapped his finger, and yet she was undisturbed in meditation. So Manjutsuri held her high up in his hand and brought her to the first of the 3 meditative heavens, totally detached from any lust, and exhausted all his mystical powers in vain to awaken her. Observing this, Shakyamuni said, even 100,000 Manjutsuris could not awaken her from the samadhi. There resides Momyo, Avidya, Bodhisattva, the lowest of all. Below this place, past the 1,200 million lands, he alone can raise her from her deep meditation. No sooner had the Shakyamuni spoken than the Bodhisattva sprang out from the earth, bowed, and paid his homage to Shakyamuni. By Shakyamuni's order, Momyo Bodhisattva snapped his fingers. Instantly, the woman came out of meditation and stood up. Moomin's comments. The old chap, Shakyamuni, is extraordinary indeed, able to produce such a village theater stage. Now then, tell me, why was Manjutsuri, the highest and wisest of the 7 Bodhisattva, unable to bring her out of meditation? Why was Momyo Bodhisattva, the lowest of them all, able to do so? Why was Momyo? Or, should you attain and live this complete understanding of it, you will attain the great samadhi with this mundane world of delusion and attachment. Whether the one who could bring her out of meditation, or the other who could not. Both of them obtained freedom. The one wore the mask of God, the other a devil's mask in the theater. Even the failure is artistic indeed. Case 43. Shuzan's bamboo spatula. Master Shuzan held out his bamboo spatula and asked, "If you call this a bamboo spatula, you give umbrage to the principle of Zen. If you call this no bamboo spatula, you violate the law of common sense." What will you call all of this? Women's comments. Should you call this a bamboo spatula, you would give umbrage. Should you call this no bamboo spatula, you would betray the law. Both to speak out will not do, and no word will be of any use either. Quickly say. Bringing out the bamboo spatula, Shuzan demanded the order of life and death. Being put to either the umbrage or the betrayal, even the Buddha and the patriarchs would beg for their lives. Case 44. Basho's staff. Master Basho said to his disciples, "If you cannot have the staff, I will give it to you. If you have no staff, I will take it away from you." Moomin's comments. This staff helps you to cross the river with the shattered bridge. This staff leads you back to your village in the moonless dark night. If you call out the staff, then you will go right into hell like an arrow. Whether one is deep or shallow, it lies in the palm of the hand which holds the staff. The staff supports the heaven and maintains the earth. Whether the staff freely goes, it will propagate the true teaching. Case 45. Who is he? To Tozan, Master Hoenn of the 5th Patriarch said, Shakyamuni and the Maitreya Bodhisattva both are his slaves. Well, tell me, who is he? Woman's comments. Should you be able to clearly realize who he is, it would not be as if you met your own father at the crossroads, as you have not had to ask your father who he is. Do not use another's bow and arrow. Do not ride somebody else's horse. Do not discuss someone else's faults. Do not try to know some other person's business. Case 46. Beyond the top of the 100-foot-high pole. Master Sekiso said, "You are at the top of the 100-foot-high pole. How you will make a step further?" Another Zen master of ancient times said, "One who sits on top of the 100-foot pole has not quite attained true enlightenment. Make another step forward from the top of the pole and throw one's own body into the 100,000 universes." Woman's comments. Should there be any who is able to make a step forward from on the top of the 100-foot pole and hurl one's entire whole body into the entire universe, this person may call oneself a Buddha. Nevertheless, how can one make a step forward from the top of the 100-foot pole? Know thyself. Should one be content and settle on top of the 100,000-foot pole, one will harm the third eye, and will even misread the marks on the scale. Should one throw oneself and be able to renounce one's life, like one blind person leading all other blind persons, one will be in absolute freedom, unattached from the eyes. Case 47. Tozotsu's 3 barriers. Master Tozotsu, setting up the 3 barriers, always tried the pursuer of the way. To search for the way, the Zen student tries to grasp one's own nature and be enlightened. Now, where is your true nature? Secondly, once having grasped one's own true nature, one is free from birth and death. If then one's eyeballs have dropped dead, how can one be free from life? Thirdly, being free from birth and death, one instantly knows where to go after death. Being dead, and the body dispersed into the 4 elements, where then does one go? Moomin's comments. Whoever can pass through these 3 barriers will be a master anywhere. When whatever happens, this person should be able to become the founder of Zen. Should one be not yet capable of answering these 3 questions, this person must diligently chew them well to finally comprehend them. Humble meals fill one's stomach, and chewing them well, one will never starve. To instantly realize is to see endless time. Endless time is this very moment. If one sees through the moment of this very moment, at this very moment, one can see through the one who sees through. Case 48. The final case. The one road of Kempo. A student monk asked Master Kempo, I understand that all Buddha of the whole universe enter the one road into nirvana. Where is this one road? Kempo raised his walking stick, drew the figure 1, and said, Here it is. Later, this monk went to Uman to ask the question. Uman, turning around his fan, said, This fan will reach the 33rd heaven and hit the nose of the Sakra Devendra, the highest deity in these heavens. It is like the giant carp of the eastern sea tipping over with his tail a rain cloud to have the rain pour down. Moomin's comments. The one master walks on the deep ocean and raises dust. The other, standing on the tip of the high mountain, fills the heaven with white waves. The one holds the point, and while the other liberates everything. Together, each supports the profound teaching with one hand. Kempo and Uman are dangerous, like 2 equally powerful camels colliding. No one in the world equals them, seen from the truth. However, even Kempo and Uman did not know where this one road really is. They reach the goal before taking the first step. They complete the speech before their tongue moves. Even if they had had foresight before long, the origin of the road lies away, ahead of their foresight. The Epilogue by Moomin. The words and actions left by Buddha and the patriarchs in these 48 koans are as precise as laws and judgments, and therein nothing superfluous is contained. They turn the student monk's brain upside down and hollow out his eyeballs. They are here in order that each one of you will immediately grasp truth and must not try to obtain it vicariously from others. Should there be anyone who thoroughly appropriates everything, the person would seize the true meaning of all 48 koans and listening to a small portion of them. To such a person, there is no gate to enlightenment, nor steps to the search. He may go through the gate without no concern of the gatekeepers. As Gensho said, it is the It is the gateless that every entrance to realization, and to be aimless is the genuine aim of the master. Haku-un also said, "Why can one not go through this very gate, although it is so obvious?" Such stories are indeed as meaningless as mixing milk with red clay. If you can pass through these 48 koans through the gateless gate, you will step on me, Mumon, under your foot. If you cannot pass through the gateless gate, you will betray yourself. As often said, it is easy to illuminate the realization that everything is empty, but it is difficult indeed to elucidate the knowledge of distinctions. If you are able to edify the wisdom of differences, the universe will be, well, at peace. Thank you for coming to my ASMR stream. I appreciate all you being there, lurking and chatting. Hope you have a good Saturday, everybody. Have a good weekend.